celebrities. We always seem to view them as out-of-this-world beings that are not really human, but are either the characters that they appear to be in films, or they're athletes or multimillionaires living the most extravagant of lives. In reality, they are more like us than we think. Believe it or not, many of them face similar life problems to our own. Breakups, uncertain careers, addictions, and so on. When it comes to addiction, we picture the average celebrity being hooked on alcohol, smoking, or some other drugs. Now, what if I told you that one of those other types of drugs is gaming? These are 10 celebrities who were or are addicted to gaming. Joe Rogan. I already talked about Joe Rogan on this channel before, but his story is worth mentioning again. For those who don't know Joe Rogan, if that's even possible, looking at the guy in his career, you would never suspect him to be a former gaming addict. Joe Rogan is a stand-up comedian, podcast host, and mixed martial arts commentator, most famously for covering UFC fights. He has one of the most famous podcasts in the world, The Joe Rogan Experience. Yeah, the dude that accomplished all this was extremely addicted to
Quake. I had a real problem when I was playing 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day sometimes. I had a T1 line installed in my house just so I could play with a fast internet connection. But I reached a point somewhere around like the year 2000 where I know one day I played until it was sunlight, until the sun came up. And, you know, I'm fucking 30 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, my hands are sweating. I'm all fucking caffeinated up. I've been drinking Mountain Dew for the past 8 hours. And I realized, I'm like, what am I doing?
It's a good thing that Joe Rogan decided to get rid of his gaming addiction, as we can see that since then, his future has been nothing short of successful. Next up on the list is Nick Offerman, the famous actor from Parks and Recreation, and most recently in The Last of Us TV series, also had to give up gaming as the addiction would have consumed his life.
About 25 years ago, I played my last video game, and I'm very indulgent.
I'm the same way.
I lost a couple of weeks to a video game called Banjo-Kazooie.
Okay.
And two weeks went by, and I mean, you know, I was like, oh my God, the slow dopamine drip is so delicious. Then it's over, and you're like, yes, I won. And immediately I'm like, what have I done with my life?
Yeah, right.
And so I decided I'm never going to do that again. And so thankfully, because games have gotten so good, like The Last of Us, that I think I'd be in a basement and I wouldn't even be going to audition for shows like.
Just like Joe Rogan, as we can see, giving up gaming has worked very well for Nick Offerman. Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill is most famous for his role as Superman in the DC Extended Universe films, including Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Justice League. He's also starred in other popular movies such as The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Mission Impossible Follow. This man looks and acts like Superman, but before becoming him, he tried being something more in World of Warcraft.
You nearly lost quite an important job.
Absolutely, yeah. I was playing a game called World of Warcraft. I missed the call from Zack Snyder to tell me I got Superman.
But, like, did you hear the phone ringing?
I did.
And you chose to ignore it?
Absolutely.
Unlike Joe Rogan and Nick Offerman, Henry Cavill's gaming habits don't seem like a thing of the past. He currently still plays video games, but hopefully that won't impede his career because we already know how dangerous it could be from the last two examples. Brandon Routh. Brandon Routh is most famous for his portrayal of Superman in the 2006 film Superman Returns. So yeah, another Superman on our list, and what it turns out, another World of Warcraft addiction. The 2006 film Superman Returns wasn't quite the successful movie Brandon Routh thought it would be. Because of this, he descended into a World of Warcraft addiction. He mentioned that he was glad it wasn't drugs or alcohol. However, WoW was a strong coping mechanism for him, and nowadays he's better, having some control over his WoW addiction with the help of his wife. Felicia Day. Felicia Day is most famous for her work as an actress and writer in the field of web series and online content. She is best known for creating and starring in the web series The Guild, which focuses on a group of online gamers. Shocker.
I'm sorry, Sid, but you don't seem willing to work on your addiction.
I've been establishing parameters like we talked about. Kind of.
You can't grow if you're still immersed in an imaginary social environment.
Guess what? Another addiction to World of Warcraft. In a 2007 blog post, Felicia Day tells the story of how she needed to get out of BlizzCon because the announcement of the new World of Warcraft DLC triggered her addiction and she knew she needed to escape. You'll also remember my story of when WoW Classic was released. I had cravings for about a year. In the end, it seems like she quit World of Warcraft for good, just like I did. Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig is most famous for his portrayal of James Bond in 5 films, including Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, Spectre, and No Time to Die. Yep, even James Bond struggled with gaming. More specifically with Halo and Guitar Hero. To relax after an exhausting day on set, Daniel Craig would jump into these games, effectively damaging his relationship with his now ex-girlfriend. Although video games weren't key in his breakup, they definitely didn't help the relationship. Ashton Kutcher. Ashton Kutcher first rose to prominence in the late 90s and early 2000s with his role as Michael Kelso in the TV series That 70s Show. He also appeared in films such as Dude, Where's My Car?, The Butterfly Effect, and portraying Steve Jobs in the film Jobs. In his 20s, Ashton Kutcher was actually trying to be James Bond. However, not in the way that Daniel Craig became James Bond, but in terms of being a character in the classic GoldenEye video game. He reports that he would just sit around all day playing that game, and it seems to be an addiction that was a serious wake-up call for Kutcher, because it seems like GoldenEye was the last game he ever played. Mila Kunis. Mila Kunis is most famous for her work as an actress in film and television. She rose to fame with her role as Jackie Burkhart in the TV series That 70s Show, and has since starred in numerous hit movies including Black Swan, Ted, and Bad Moms. And it might surprise you, but yep, World of Warcraft was at it again. Before Kunis married the mentioned Ashton Kutcher, she was addicted to playing WoW with her then boyfriend Macaulay Culkin. They would play this game together for hours at a time. Nowadays, it seems like Mila Kunis has balanced her gaming habits, especially when her husband Ashton Kutcher is not planning to return to gaming anytime soon. Neil Robertson. Neil Robertson is a man who is most famous for his career as a professional snooker player. He is considered one of the greatest players in the history of the sport, having won numerous championships and accolades throughout his career. However, according to Neil Robertson, his gaming addiction prevented him from achieving even more.
How long would you spend here in a day?
I'll be playing for like 18 hours straight. And to me, it would only feel like 3 hours. And the next minute I know, like the birds are tweeting outside and it's starting to get quite light and the sun's coming through and I'm thinking, oh my God, I've got to go to bed.
Gaming for such lengths at a time not only hurt his professional career, but his relationship with his family. And if you want to learn more about that, I made a full video covering the extent of Neil Robertson's gaming addiction, so check out this video.